start streaming again. Let's see if YouTube's going to pick this up. And we are, I think, live. Hold on. Almost. Almost. Are we there? I got the pinwheel. We're live.
Oh, the pinwheel.
So where were
every tech person's like worst enemy?
where were we when we left off?
Let's see. This is what tech will do.
That's
terrible. It was what, 5 minutes ago, and I'm already like, I don't know.
Well, we discussed like automation and the Rust Belt and like various stuff related to robotics and AI, like eating industries and changes, trying to use video to get people to adapt and change because they don't want to. Then we talked about massage education, particularly in schools, and we feel like it's not quite kept pace. But I really think most industries haven't kept pace. Like everything is changing so fast, it's hard for them to keep up.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And you see, well, I mean, you think about all the stuff that Amazon has done. I mean, it used to be the ultra villain was Walmart.
Yeah.
And it's like now it's just changed. It's like Amazon is literally, there's nothing that I can't order or at least don't check on Amazon first. And one of my favorite businesses that I love to patronize is Costco. But
yeah.
I'm seeing them be swallowed up by some of this stuff because you can't order anything like online. Like right now, it's like you have to go there to get it.
Yeah.
And they don't offer any of the stuff. And I love them. I love them as a company, but it's very hard for me to support them because they're missing this part of their business, like that online part. And even Walmart's caught up with this. But not to delve, I don't mean to keep taking it into all these other industries, but massage is the same thing. Like my first thing with those robots, I was telling my wife, is like, I want one so I can do 2-person sessions.
Yeah.
I can be on one end and that robot will be on the other end and we can like stretch somebody across the table.
Yeah,
I just want to work, buddy.
It gets to the point where the technology is breaking down, so something as simple as agriculture. I think we can say that agriculture led to civilization. So what happens when you have another agricultural revolution that's like robotics and automated?
Yep.
Like it's so pivotal to the way that we deal with things. It's like I tell people I hold up my phone, I'm like, this is going to do more than the printing press ever did. And the printing press led to automation. Like it changed the world.
Right?
Information distribution.
You look at history and like the power of technological disruption. I mean, it sounds like one of those like an industry term, but it really is. It has power to tear things up, and sometimes it tears them up before even people realize what's happening. I mean, you look at like Uber and Uber Eats.
Yeah.
I mean, it changes things quickly.
Yeah.
And I think what we were talking about was like agriculture and like not having to work. I'm like, I honestly don't know what would happen to people if they suddenly didn't have to work. Like, I think some people would just literally go a little crazy because I don't know. We're so work oriented and work driven and like, what's the next, what's my next step and that's one of the things why I'm in massage is because I just enjoy it. I just enjoy the shit out of it.
I mean, there's so many things where, do restaurants think that restaurants are going to go out of business because people learn to cook?
Right. Well, and have you heard of ghost kitchens?
What's that?
Because that's crazy. So a ghost kitchen, and they're kind of, Uber was actually testing this out, or Uber Eats, is that instead of like a restaurant where you would go and sit down, you would have a centralized kitchen that would say produce Mexican food, and you would have another one be Italian. And what they would do is provide a hub service based on those cuisines. So no longer a branded food. So no Taco Bell, just Mexican food through Uber Eats, and you could have like really high-end chefs down to like encompassing everything from I want to pay a lot for my meal down to I want a 99-cent taco, and have one kitchen produce it all,
Yeah.
and then have Uber Eats delivering it, or drones. Who knows?
Yeah, it's
And if I
hard.
was a restaurant owner, I would be a little worried about that, or at least
Yeah.
checking into it.
I mean, I think in our industry, to bring it home, I think some of the stuff I battle, and I think online education is growing at a ferocious pace. And it's not just because of COVID, it's just because of the technology and what it allows. The stuff I'm doing online is more innovative than what I was doing in person. And I can give people access to the recordings after the fact. I keep hearing therapists say, well, I don't learn online. And I'm like, guys, it's no longer online and in person. They're the same now. Get six therapists in your living room and work with us as part of our CE party. And they're like, what? But I don't understand. I'm like, listen, one person pays, everybody can enjoy. I don't care. And they're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And I'm like, why?
And
why would I hold on?
Exactly. That's
this is mine.
You got me.
Yeah.
It really is. It comes from to quote some wellness stuff. It comes from a scarcity mindset. They think there's like a finite amount of pie, and there really isn't. You just make your own pie.
Yeah.
Like there is no big pie that you're taking a slice out of. You're just making your own. That's all it is.
Just diversification. I mean, one of the smartest things I ever did years ago is I made that first workbook, and we had a PDF. It was the first time I ever wrote something, and it was 54 pages. And I had a PDF because now I had a digital thing. And I was like, do I sell it? I was like, nobody knows what Time Massage is. I was like, why don't I just give it away and get like an email and just make like an email list? Now I did that, and I had to put a dot everywhere on earth where that thing was downloaded. It completely blew me away because within several years, we had 10,000 downloads. There were places on earth that I didn't know existed, and it was not because of the physical shippable thing, because of digital distribution. And it was the first time I ever saw digital and went, whoa. Like,
this is cool.
Well, because it's totally weird to somebody who works in a brick and mortar industry with my hands. Like, I can put information together to give it to people to help them.
Absolutely. And there's that thing, like when you help people, it becomes your message, and it's easy to sell that. And I mean, most of the time, I will say, sometimes you still get the people who are going to doubt, or they want to pick apart the message. And I don't understand that part of it either, because I'm not sure if it's like from a threatened place, or it's I'm not doing it. And I'm hoping that, like, every time I see somebody else, like you inspired me to do video, like Massage Law, Ian inspired me. And every time I see somebody on YouTube who's doing stuff, or on TikTok now, I'm terrified of TikTok.
Why?
And people are like, well, you do videos everywhere else. Short form is the death of me. Like, I'm a blowhard. I am talking and over explaining all the time. And so when you say you have 60 seconds, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's TikTok. I caught on fairly early, and I've only had limited success there. But the short form and the way information is put across, like, the technology is developing so fast that it's changing the way people process information. It's like TikTok is the most innovative social media right now, period. I haven't seen anything that comes close. And the first time I started using it, I'll tell you a quick story. I was in my bed late at night. It was like midnight. Like, I'm going to bed. I get on TikTok. I just downloaded the app. And 3 hours later, I was crying, watching completely hysterical videos. And it was like, it was weird because it was the first time in memory. Like, I use social media to work, but I was playing with the app. I was engaging with a community of people within this app that was like wildly creative. in a way that made you look at video production in a very different way. And I think also it made the massage industry look more and more myopic. They were only looking at other massage people, and I started looking at other businesses and other influencers and other industries for ideas of how to innovate within ours.
Yeah. Well, it's like those. It always makes me think of. I can't remember what they sell, but it's like the Sasquatch in the woods. That's. I think they sell like some kind of outdoor man deodorant or whatever, or it's like the Charmin bear. People will look at stuff and they're like, "There's no way a bear can sell, toilet paper." But I look at the same thing with TikTok and all those things. It's like people. And there are video streams out there, and massage therapists. I'm gonna come down kind of hard. Are particularly guilty of being the driest motherfuckers out there when it comes to explaining stuff, because it's almost overly professional and so uptight and clinical. It's like, if they had a lump of coal, it'd be a diamond by the time they were done.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things on TikTok in particular, because I found myself just scrolling, and it's like you found yourself enjoying social media. Yeah. Whereas in a lot of other places, it's like, oh, am I going to have to fight with an idiot?
Yeah, it's well, I have a lot of haters. And the thing is, it's in proportion to the people who love what I do, but we're growing. We're getting a degree of like notoriety and, dare I say, fame within the industry. And I suspect that it'll continue happening, but I'm being influenced by other industries at this point and looking at marketing in a very different way. So when you go back to looking at massage in a very myopic way, including the fact that you have to understand, I haven't had a client take off their clothes in like 5 years. It's really, really weird practice. And I think that's where some of the pushback is, because it doesn't resemble what the therapists are used to, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I hope that people are encouraged to give it a shot, because I feel like there are things that you can do clothed that there is absolutely no draping for. And I'm sorry, anytime anybody's like, well, you can diaper drape them, I want to laugh them out of the room, because there's no way I'm going to say diaper drape with an adult client in my room. I'm going to be like, you know what, come in athletic clothes, because I'm not putting you in a diaper drape.
Yeah, I think also, we're men in a female-dominated industry, have slightly different issues than we do. One of the ways that I practice was make a lot of video, show people what you do, and then build rapport online first. And I've heard this again and again, the potential client watches 4 or 5 videos, go, man, this guy's a consummate, he's got a podcast and he makes video and he deals with chronic pain, he has all this information on his website. Their perception of me changed through all of that digital output. So it made the onboarding process with clients more ideal.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I totally agree with the, you do have to come from 2 different places. I always struggle when I see another massage or a male massage therapist when they're like, oh, it's really hard for me and all that stuff, because I didn't have that struggle. Like, even when I started out, I worked in Elements for a little bit, and it didn't have that experience. And so it's hard for me when it's, I find myself marketing myself. I don't know. If I could say anything to anybody, it's just be the same everywhere you have an outlet, because that's going to get you further, because it's that personality that everybody wants to connect with. It is that connection. And that's one of the things that future-proofs us personally, is that, maybe 20, 30 years from now, we're going to have a robot that can have like a meaningful, look you in the eyes, caring conversation. But massage and manual therapy and all of those things have that as its single biggest advantage. And some people they'll crap all over that. They'll be like, oh, you can't. I had somebody bust me down for saying intimate. And I'm like, it is intimate.
Yeah.
Like, it's the definition of intimate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so, even my work is mat base, clothes on. I think, and I've learned this over time, it's more intimate than what most people are doing as massage. And I know that seems backwards, but I'm dealing with a full body art. I'm using my legs, my feet, multiple points of contact, dragging people around a mat. Like, it is interesting because we're in a touch-based industry. Having good connection skills, interpersonally, psychologically, emotionally, in regards to touch, giving more touch in session.
Yeah.
I get really, really great responses from clients, but it's always interesting because a new client will freak out and go, dude, this is amazing. Why is this not everywhere? And I'm like, because massage therapists keep sort of telling me it's not massage. And they're like, what? Oh my God. And I went, I don't know how I delivered a car that somebody said wasn't a car, but okay. Like,
Yeah.
my business is growing and I continue to work with students and clients and it's successful enough. I think also we may have just spearheaded my own little niche in an industry. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's not for everybody. It doesn't get rid of Swedish, for instance, or table work. It's just, it adds a little more diversity, a little more complexity to the marketplace. It allows other practitioners like you to, I don't know, like some people, it's interesting. They're like, no, I like the table. I'm like, great, table tie, whatever you want to call it. And they're doing like, basically my table tie stuff kind of from a marketing standpoint looks like Stretch Lab on steroids. It's
Right.
like this, clothes on, but it's still table based and like crazy compressions and mobilization in a way that they've categorized what they think massage is. When you say massage to the public, they think table cream, glide, and nudity.
Yeah.
And my work slowly took all of those away, which is where we were hitting a weird thing where for me, I just went, listen, show them what you do, show them what you do again, show them like the YouTube
Just
channel.
keep showing.
Say it again.
No, just keep showing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny just because being so locked in on those points that you just went over, you got to have glides, you got to do this, and this. It created the niche for Stretch Lab.
Yeah.
By doing that, because they took the Thai massage and repurposed it and took some elements of stretch and some arguably from all over the place, but then turned it into a marketable thing that people want, and that's hats off to them. I'm like, that's what it's all about, is finding where you fit. And sometimes there's going to be people out there that no matter how safe they are, how open-minded or whatever, they don't want to get naked on the table.
Yeah.
They may love you for every other reason, but and I've had people that come in, and sometimes we progress from like a mat or we do table tie to eventually they're like, I do want to try something, I do want to try some level of disrobing. Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, the way I teach it, I had to be mindful of men's and women's issues in the industry and how different they are. I would often let women colleagues in classes, because I would ask them for their perspective, because I understand that their dealings with the public can be a little bit different.
Oh, man.
It's like, well, one, it allowed men to do something that was more intimate, like what was safe because clothes are on. And then it allowed women to be safe because they could get up and get out if they had to, like the person has their clothes on. So it's interesting to deal with the practice and just like small tweaks, like changes to it that I think are not only biomechanically advantageous, but from a safety and security standpoint, keep women safe. There's a lot of advantages to what I'm teaching, but again, I just keep making video trying to illuminate what those advantages are.
Well, and there's a lot, but like when you explain it through video, or somebody comes, if you're a client, and not just because I've been doing these other videos, and I'm not going to peddle those right now, but we're kind of exploring the female, the women's perspective of this industry. Is, if you're a man and have never asked, it's somewhat shocking because they deal with a whole lot of shit that they shouldn't have to. And one of the things that I like about Thai and all that stuff is that when you see it in practice, it eliminates I wouldn't even ask for that because it does not look like it lends itself to any of that, the happy ending kind of behavior.
Yeah.
It's self-selecting clients that are not going to do that to you. Hopefully, there's always going to be, there's always going to be a 0.5% or 1% that's going to.
Yeah, I mean, there's an early adopter issue. You got to get the iPhone users to camp out outside the place because they love the iPhone. You have to build all of those early adopters to be able to hit mass market saturation. What I teach is a statistical anomaly. There are no other practitioners doing what I'm doing in the United States, at least of any significant statistical number. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I haven't seen any.
Yeah, it's like
anytime somebody says, you know, I want to learn Thai, you're usually the first person I say. I'm like, go check out online because you're going to be able to. You're going to be able to find. So you're going to get a taste of it for free. You know, you can go to YouTube and see what's going on, and then you can get a whole bunch of courses. And you know, for a really super, I would say, I'm going to say too low, Robert.
Now you're getting personal here. Okay, so why is it too low?
Oh, I don't know. I was kind of being tongue in cheek, just because it's when you look at the price of any other. I'm going to use the term, and I'm going to do quotes. You look at the gurus that are running around. It's always about maximizing that number. Can I raise the price? Can I get a little more? Can I squeeze the people? And I don't like that. I don't ever like the idea of squeezing people. I want them to see the value and be like, yeah, you should charge more for this because this is fucking awesome.
So I'll give you I'll give you a quick we have debates inside my business, and I'm honest about this. There's two ends. One person is going, you got to raise the fee on that subscription. And the other person is going, nope, absolutely not. Now, I lean towards no, absolutely not. That makes everybody angry, by the way. And they go, why won't you raise the fee? And I'm like, why won't you distribute it globally?
Ooh, there you go. Why don't you make the spout? Why don't you open the spout more?
So, I mean, I'm serious. Like, there's a housewife in Islamabad, Pakistan. She speaks Urdu, but her English is great. And I go, would you like to work on your husband? You could subscribe to my subscription service for $7 a month, so long as you can get through my Texas twang English. Like, I'm banking on digital distribution. The thing is, it's not about every student. You get 1,000 hardcore students, and then you start building. If I don't knock my lamp down here, then you just keep building. It's like, the reason I sell stuff inexpensively online, especially in a pre-recorded form, our subscription service has over 500 hours the last 3 years of my teaching practice. What does it cost me to distribute that information?
There you go. Yeah.
Like, I don't see a downside. People are telling me people won't study with you, and I'm like, I think you're wrong. I think they're connecting with me online. Then they come to the in-person class. They connect with me through the 4-camera live streams, and then they come to class. It's like I'm building residual income, and I'm building multiple revenue streams using a podcast and digital distribution to promote Joshua Cottle, because I think that, I don't know, like, we do this together. I hook into your audience, you hook into my audience. So? Like, digital distribution is good. I see schools, fighting this. The internet's going to win. The internet is going to win. This is not going away.
I just saw 2 more schools go under.
Oh.
2 more schools. There was another one in Colorado, and then I can't remember where the other one was. And they've been around a long time, but between, they weren't prepared for anything like this. The thing that digital distribution as a school kind of helps you in a situation like we're currently in, where it's like, you can't do anything in person.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would be really small, because, you have those economies of scale. I've seen small schools that are doing really well, but they can stay small.
Yeah.
The bigger ones, they're done. It's, they're fishing a barrel for this because they can't ramp up the online part.
And long story short, without going into great detail, if all I do is talk to a local school owner and say, listen, I understand that your business is a physical brick and mortar. Why don't we add a layer of digital supplementation? And what they hear is, nope, it's more work, more money, not worth it. And I'm like, okay. And I go home and turn on my cameras and go right back to work. Like, I can't make people change. Like, from a social media standpoint, some people have kind of told me that I need to back off on certain social media because it's not, I don't know, it's not building my business. And I'm like, but it builds my reach and it builds my personal brand. I don't interact with a ton of massage therapists on Twitter. Twitter is not a heavily massage therapy oriented platform, but I still use it because I'm really trying to understand all these different platforms and how people are using social media to distribute audio and video content and how they're connecting. Because when the next platform comes along, like TikTok, I'm ready to make the jump into a new platform because I understand how people are communicating online. It ain't the yellow pages anymore.
No, it is not the yellow pages.
Yeah.
We coincidentally still get that. I don't even know why we get it. Once a year, every year,
people still.
I don't know if we'll get it here.
Yeah, people still take out ads. They have to. They still take out ads.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got your YouTube channel just above you, and you've got your website just down below you. If you were going to have people follow you, you mainly want them to follow you on YouTube?
Yeah, that's kind of my primary home. That's where I have the most fun for sure, and connect the most often.
How often are you releasing YouTube videos at this point?
So at least once a week. Okay. I was toying around with a three videos a week. I'm going to be diving into some anatomy I came up with because I love anatomy. I like teaching and all that stuff. I bit off a little more than I could chew because I was like, ooh, the quality was going to suffer. And I was like, I can't do that. So it'll be at least once a week. It's usually on Saturday or Sunday. It's always at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to keep it regular and fresh. And I take, I'm always on the massage forums and that stuff. I go wherever I feel like I need to go. Or if somebody suggests something freaking cool, because I've had that before where people are like, I want to learn about this. And I'm like, we'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, we just continue producing information and we have like debates about what to give away, what to charge for it, how to package it, how to put it together. And we continue to just test. A lot of it too, I think with business, like somebody today in Massage Entrepreneurs, they were like, I want to build my own business. What's the best way to do it? It's like, that's such a broad, like, what kind of work do you want to do? Where do you live? Like, there's
you're gonna get 100 different answers.
Yeah, because it's so personalized when you're trying to run your own business. And even we, as advanced as we are having debates about how to distribute information and what do we charge. And it's like, I'm getting into uncharted territories, like 4-camera live streams with like filtered audio and putting anatomy on the screen live is not normal in our industry. Like, we are having arguments about how to do it, and I'm like, ugh, one, do the bills get paid? Two, how do we build?
Yep, there you go.
How do you get more? Like, it's like, to me, it's like, well, how do I build a business? I'm like, no. How do you get one client? Now, how do you get that one client to come back? Now, how do you get another client? That's how you build a business.
You got to start small. Anytime I tell people, I do the same thing. I'm glad to hear other people say that because they'll have these grand schemes of like, I need to get an S Corp and all this stuff. It's like, you need a table, sheets, oil, and a client. That's all you need at the beginning. And then you figure out from there. You build out.
Yeah.
And there's levels of preparedness and all that stuff. But if you overcomplicate it and you just shoot yourself in the foot. I mean, it's part of the reason people don't do this. Just a few weeks ago, I figured out how to do a live or like an anatomical overlay while I was working on someone, where it would be like a video, but I could have like the boom.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, I literally was like, whoa, when I figured out finally how to do it because I had tinkered with it for like 48 hours and I couldn't get it to work. And then when I did, it was like, and so a lot of times it's like, you just got to grind. You gotta, you've got to just keep going because it's worth it. And if you're starting a business, it's especially true.
The future is made up of YouTube tutorials. It's like software, man.
In 60 seconds.
Yeah, software is the bane of my existence at this point. Like, I spend so much time. Like, people see what it does, but they're like, "How did he do that?" And I'm like, "It took about 2 days."
It's something easy because it was like, oh, it was probably just. There's nothing easy about this. This is literally getting just one thing to play with the other.
Well, it's interesting
was a
because
battle.
in a way, like, it's interesting because in a way I think it is easy, but how do I put this? It's not difficult, but it's time consuming. That's what the difference is. Like my joke is my friend Josh Terry, he helps
Yeah.
me with some stuff and he does a lot of tech stuff. So we're constantly like talking to each other about whatever. And Josh is like, it's usually 2 buttons. But the thing is, you got to know which 2 buttons to press and in what order. Yeah. So if you had, I guess,
and to bring just really quick to bring those two things together, the video and business is to just it's a one. Most of the stuff that you have to do is a one-time investment. Like learning how to video edit in the beginning, it's one time. You spend a set amount of hours figuring out how to do it, and then it's kind of yours. You get to tweak it, but it's all of those tasks, like learning how to get good audio or figuring out how to set up lighting. It's a one-time investment that's heavy up front. It takes some playing around with, but after that, it's really easy. You plug in your lights and you go, and it looks better.
Yeah.
And it's just like when you're building a business, most of the stuff up front is one-time investment, and then you just have to kind of keep pushing the boulder.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like massage school itself. You know, it seems, I mean, I remember being in school, being nervous because you'd never worked on anyone before. And now I'm like, why would you be nervous? And it's like, dude, you've been doing this for 18 years. Once you've developed enough skill, it's like, it's old hat. It's not anything. It's like driving a car. I don't get nervous when I go get in the car now. But when you first learned to drive, you were like, this is dangerous. It's like a big machine. I don't know how to control it. Or, you know, I think the 80% rule, or for me, the 80% is like, do it 80%. The screen messed up. So what? Oh, it lagged. Okay. So what? Like, just work at it.
Yep.
Make it better. Learn little skills. I mean, when I got Canva on my phone, I was like, whoa, I'm a graphic designer. Because I could move a little picture around and resize it. But the technology and the software does increase and get easier. I think one of the things I've seen with massage education specifically, the actual massage service hasn't changed very much, but the business around it has exponentially. And I think the business education in schools hasn't kept pace with the rate of change even remotely.
Well, it is. I honestly think that it's one of those. If anybody's up and coming for a business idea, I think that it is probably due to have just the service side of it disrupted every once in a while. The closest thing I can introducing massage guns. Of like, I never thought I would see that because for the most part, like Elements and Massage Envy and all those things are very like formulaic in their services. And when I heard that, I was like, "Whoa! They're trying to shake things up a little bit." And honestly, it's probably due for a shakeup. Somebody who figures that formula out is gonna kill it.
Yeah, some of the most interesting stuff I see in our industry, to be completely honest, is outside our industry, and what that is Stretch Lab and Stretch Zone. The thing is, I had been telling therapists for years, I had been pushing. I'm like, go, there's real estate over there, go. And they went, no, my clients want massage. And all of a sudden it was like Stretch Lab, Stretch Zone. I was like, oh no, no license necessary. I was like, holy moly, like they have no idea what this is gonna do.
Well, and sometimes you'll get the people who are like, you'll get the scope of practice people who are like, well, you can't do that.
You can't do what?
You can. Most places, or if you can't, then go out and get your athletic trainer certification and bring it into your practice. Make yourself more valuable. Make it to where you can, shake it up a little bit. But those people at Stretch Lab, Jesus, they just invented a certification. You're a stretchologist.
Yeah.
When you come in, because it was like that's an invented certification. That's an invented title.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've circumvented. You don't need like even their job ads are funny to me because it'd be like, we prefer a massage license or a trainer. So they have 4 or maybe 3 different pools that they can pull from.
Yeah.
So it's no longer just massage therapists.
I
They
started
can actually take athletic trainers.
Yeah, I started paying
So-
more attention to it whenever Massage Envy added their own stretch service, that straight toe. And I was like, ooh, the reason why is because Stretch Lab was crunching the numbers and realized they were losing clients
Yeah,
who were
little audio
athletes.
lag.
We got a little lag again.
There we
So
go.
it's interesting to me, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I know that my business is not going backwards when it comes to digital distribution. We continue to put out information at a furious pace. Listen, when people get upset at my memes, I'm like, okay. I mean, if a meme is going to ruin your day, I guess so. But it's, we just every day it's like we're able to release more. We're able to release more video, more footage, more audio, more memes, more graphics, more photos. Put out more information, blog posts.
Yep.
Even from a podcast standpoint, it's like I'm not great at it, but I can drop this after the fact and some video editing software, clip it, and make a short version. It's like it's not slowing down, it's like ramping up, while everybody else in our industry, mostly, they seem to be digital distribution. They're actively almost like opposed to it.
There are a lot of people that fight for like status quo. Yeah. Well, and I think it really does come down to what you said earlier is they don't want to be judged. And I'm like, to me, if people watching or whatever, if you want one piece of advice, is have strong opinions, and be willing to change those as evidence comes along. But strong opinions especially if you base them on as much factual information as you can get, will get you further than being lukewarm. Because if you can say, this is how it is, and if it pisses people off, you've probably done the right thing, honestly. You don't want everybody to agree with you. If everybody's agreeing with you, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, I've had this.
I think you have to.
Yeah, I've had this debate locally, and I've had some colleagues like drop off and not work with me because they're like, you're too polarizing. And once they told me that, I was like, listen, the people who are hating on me, like, would they hate on me if I wasn't successful? And when they started laughing, I just proved my point. Like, listen, I don't need everybody to agree with what I'm doing. My clients agree and my students agree. And I'm teaching online and they say it's impossible. And I'm like, the ship has already sailed. Like, I just make it a little better each day and keep growing. It's like, the problem is the therapists haven't heard somebody in private practice speak the level of truth that I speak when I come into their school. And what it does is they're getting this model of like business that's based in the yellow pages. And I'm like, that's dead. Now. And they're like, well, when do I start my website? And I'm like, don't worry about a website now. Like, take out your phone. And here's what the schools do. The schools banned this.
Yeah, they're like, no phone.
Yeah, and when I ask, they say, well, it's a liability issue. And it's like, it's because people are unclothed. And I'm like, my whole practice, here we go.
And let them put clothes.
Yeah.
No, it amazes me when people cite the limitation and then don't realize that you can actually change that. It's that glass ceiling thing where you bump into it and you're like, and then you realize it's a sliding door. Just move the limitation the hell out of the way. If you can't do it because of that reason, get rid of that reason.
Well, I mean, just something simple.
I understand that.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about the video production. Just, you take a therapist who works on a table and I say, listen, let's get rid of the table and try working on a mat. Just that one piece. That is so revolutionary and changes the service in so many ways that my own industry has like a pushback against it. It's changed.
Right?
Now there are advantages.
Who knows why?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. It really is. I can tell you one of my favorite things that right now that clients are like, oh, I've just literally never done this. And people always expect it to be some kind of fancy technique or whatever. It's rolling that mat out over there, doing this and moving over. I have a big room now. and maybe moving over to the mat. And it's literally just letting them lay there for 10 minutes with me doing some compression on their feet or their legs, not even moving around that much, because they literally haven't laid for 10 minutes with just being inside their head for 6 months or a year. It will change your life. And it's like, you can't, it's not the same here when you're down on the ground and you're on that comfy mat. And it's, I don't know. It is. It's one of the best things that I do now. And people are like, oh, I haven't done this. I just haven't laid on the floor. And people, you can hear backs adjusting and all this stuff because they're deep breathing and they're just falling into this thing. And they're like, it's amazing. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything. You're just laying there. But yay.
Well, it's a different paradigm. To me, it's like, English and Arabic. They're both ways of communicating information. But when you're fluent in English and you try to add Arabic, you're like, oh my God, they write the script backwards. Oh, and the thing is, it's not wrong. It's just a different language. And I think that's the thing. Being essentially, in my case, in a bodywork world, bilingual, it's like I can still work on a table. It's fine. I have students who thank me because I still teach table classes, and it's like, listen, I'm trying to give you the stepping stones to transition if you want back into a mat-based practice if you want to. It's not like you have to do it this way. It's like, no, what I'm doing is providing more options. That's all. More tools.
Yeah, you just pull it in. Pull what you like. You don't have, just because you learn it doesn't mean you're locked into that now. It's just take what you like and think about it and apply it when you need to.
Yeah.
So, but you'd think people, sometimes I feel like that's one of those things that it seems revolutionary, or like it's so far outside of that damn box. I hate the outside of the box stuff. It's like, it's really not. You're just doing what the moment called for. You blend the two together, it's fine.
Yeah, it's really not, even in my practice, it's not either or. It's just expanding their number of tools. Like, you have a big wall of tools. I tell them this all the time, and I just want you to have 25 to 50% more tools. That's all. Same problems clients come in with, but I want to give you some new tools that save your hands and allow you to package your service in a slightly different way. Like, there's tons of advantages for you, tons of advantages for the client, but it is a different practice, and I do expect some pushback, but also, when people ask me, like, how could I focus on software and the stuff I'm doing, it's like, well, because money falls out. Like, the more I made video, I got more clients, and the clients were more tailored to what I wanted, and it was easier. It was easier to get clients, and it was easier to make money, and everything kept growing. And all the time you hear, but people can't learn online. And I'm like, I got students saying otherwise. I got testimonials out the wazoo, and it's like, grows.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I know a nurse that just finished her BSN online, so I'm guessing you can.
Yeah.
You 100% can. And I argue that you can learn better online because you can come back to it. And
some things,
because I like in-person classes just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to revisit the information. What did I see when I was doing that versus when they showed me?
Yeah.
Well, I can't match that up. I want to be able to come back to it. And and like literally every other industry has caught on to this. Like, I just I got an Oculus, so the VR headset for my birthday, and I'm hooked on this app called Supernatural. It's an online coach. You're sitting in here. There's literally a person in front of you. And I've done a cardio workout 2, sometimes 3 times a day because I can come out here. I'm with a trainer. I feel like I'm accountable because I've got an app on my phone and all that stuff. But you don't see that. Like, other industries are just fine with that. It's like, we're going to present everything in video and trust that you're going to figure out. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the most amazing things I've seen technology-wise in a long time.
My business changed really pivotably when I said, can we do this? And when they said yes, I went, okay, let's go do that. And I stopped asking for permission. Like, well,
Yeah.
I want mommy and daddy to approve. I'm like, no. A brick and mortar industry is never going to approve of you teaching online until it's too late and you've already done it. Can we, like the subscription, this, and I will take credit for this. It's not like nobody had ever seen a subscription service before, but I'd never seen a subscription service for education in our industry. And I said, let's do it. Because once I understood the tech components, I was like, oh my God, this is it. It's over. And we continue to keep building, and people are like, I can't learn online. And I'm like, I've been teaching online for 3 years.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, what is their podcast kind of reminds me of this because it's pretty affordable and it's loaded with information. What the hell is her name? Alyssa Haynes.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to remember the name of their. Like they do business. They do a business. Oh, sorry.
Oh, there's beef, baby. Go ahead.
That's a blunder.
Yeah.
Anyway, as far as the model goes, I'm like, but it pains me honestly the amount of limitations I guess people just want to put on themselves. And like my kids sum this up really well. They're like, you're a grown up. And you can do what you want, right? Like, yeah. Like, why don't you do more fun stuff? That's the most real question I think anybody has ever asked me because I'm like, I can literally do whatever I want. And I can teach how I want on YouTube. I can bring in things that no school would ever let me do and talk exactly how I want.
Yeah.
When I say, when I'm doing anatomy, I don't say glutes. I say you're going to rub somebody's ass because you can do that. And you're dealing with another adult in your room. So they know that they have an ass. And a lot of times people don't know that their glutes are called.
I was told that I was slovenly in dress and speech.
Slovenly in dress and speech. That sounds mildly racist. I don't even know what that means.
No, it just means it means I'm a slob. Because
slovenly.
Slovenly. Slovenly.
Like
yeah, you have to dress for success. And I'm like, who are you?
They're gonna hit my mystery machine then.
It's like I'm in a table-based industry doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is what it amounts to. I'm like, I wear Thai fisherman pants and a t-shirt. Like, well, how do you want me to dress? I'm not wearing slacks. Get out of here. If I go to a business conference,
I fold people very slowly.
It's like it's such a weird. But the thing, it's like preconceived notions and how they affect what we do. The other thing is like there are other massage therapists who have podcasts, but I'm not basing my podcasts off of other massage therapists. I'm looking at other industries or people like Joe Rogan who have famous podcasts and going, what do they do? Like, do what they do.
Yeah.
Do what winners do. Like the massage industry is too myopic. Like they're not looking at the bigger picture. Like, and now I'll ask this: like, if you're a school owner, you and I both, Joshua, we can live stream into their school and teach at any time. And schools will not allow that for the most part.
No,
they'll actively block it. Why?
Oh, absolutely. So it'll be nope. We don't need that or want it. Okay, I guess we're gonna turn out some more therapists that don't know how to fix sheets and oil.
So I'll give you a quick story. There was a local school. A teacher called me and said, "I want you to come to our school and talk about social media marketing." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, whatever. Let's set it up." And I don't charge. It's just like whatever. Go talk to the students. They may become students later, of mine, whatever. And it turned out that like somehow the owner found out and the owner was like, nope, he cannot live stream his presentation on social media. And I was like, what? You won't allow me to use social media to teach them about social media? And they were like, no, it's a liability issue.
Of course it is.
And I'm like,
no, it does. After you hear the same stupid answers so many times, that after a while, you just kind of want to be like, okay.
Well, and that's also why my presentation is so different. It's so different. It stands out in stark contrast to the bulk of the industry and I'm making less and less apologies. And I'm like, you're right. I'm slovenly in dress and slovenly in speech, but there's money in my bank account and it grows every day. So, whatever. Like, not everybody likes Jay-Z. Jay-Z is not crying because you didn't like his rap.
Right? Just moving on.
Yeah,
Just
it's like the other thing is
shake that money tree.
the notion of
it's probably better if you don't like it, honestly.
the notion of professional. Well, it's not professional. You're not professional. You're not professional. And I'm like, I get paid. I help people in chronic pain and I teach. What's not professional about that? Like, listen, not only do I consider myself professional, but when I get hate mail, I go look at Ice-T's Twitter. And I let Ice-T teach me about haters. Like, the world is different, you know, than it was in 1980. It just is.
Yeah.
People have to, at least a modicum, like schools have to adapt business curriculum to the social media age. And I find them extremely, almost like anti-social media. Like they're fighting, like this stuff is banned from the classroom. And I can't really understand because it's like the massage nerd is the videos they're watching on YouTube to supplement their education.
Yeah. Well, and it is. It hurts me because then when these students get out there, number one, they probably didn't learn a great deal about business, or they learned the most, the most basic stuff you could. But then they get thrown into a space where there are a lot of people, not a great many, but enough to where they don't know how to market themselves on Facebook. They don't know how to use Instagram. And moreover, they're afraid to do it. And it's like, people ask me, well, do you pay for ads on Facebook? Hell no. I make videos for my page and I let that go where it goes. You get involved free marketing advice. Connect with the people you want to serve. If you want to work with runners, go out and connect with some runners groups and build some rapport in that group. And then after you've shown that you're valuable, say, hey, can I drop a video in there? Or if there's no rule against it, drop the video in there. And all of a sudden, you'll have a whole bunch of runners that are like, oh, yep. Better if it's a local group.
If you're a massage therapist watching this, and I want you to understand this very deeply, the feedback you're going to get that's negative is not from the public. It's from massage therapists.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will get, that is one of the best ways that I've gotten clients is because they want, and they'll come in and they'll comment, whatever, or they'll DM you, they'll drop into the DMs and they'll be like, hey, do you know how to fix this? What's going on with this? You give an honest, informed, professional answer, and they maybe try a little bit of the self-work. You're like, hey, I have a video on YouTube. And that's the other thing is that it turns into a web. Like the more content you have, when somebody asks for something, I'm like, oh, I have a video about hamstrings. Check it out. Have your spouse try it. If you need more help, there's my website.
Yep.
Come see me. Bring your spouse along. I'll teach them how to do it. So, and then that way, and people, that's one of those things. People are like, well, why would you teach somebody? Then they don't need to come see you. No, they come back. I maybe teach a spouse or a boyfriend or whatever. They're not going to replace me, but also it spirals into more and more word of mouth because they're like, no, you should go see this guy because all of these reasons.
Yeah, I mean,
it blows my mind. You don't have to pay for ads.
Yeah,
I had stuff that's
a roommate.
Stuff that works for you.
Yeah, I had a roommate years ago who was in acupuncture school. He's now working as an acupuncturist in San Antonio. And he was having a conversation with, I think, one of the students, one of his colleagues in school, and somehow he said something about Thai massage and me, and my name came up, and he was like, "Oh my God, Robert Gardner is your roommate? Dude, Robert Gardner's like a legend." Josh, I'm a guy in his apartment. The reason he says I'm a legend is because you're producing so much social media content, you're gaining a sort of notoriety and fame just because you were unfazed mostly by people's hate mail and you continued to put out video content. in an industry that says, no, we don't want to put out video content. I'm like, great, that's great for my business. Like, you're going to find my YouTube videos faster than everybody else if you don't have any.
Well, and that's just it. If I want to cut a therapist off, or if it's like if we're actively discouraging competition, I'd be like, no, don't make video. Don't make video at all, because it will do nothing for you and you'll waste a lot of time. That would be how you cut a therapist off at the knees. It's not sharing technique and passing along business tips.
Yeah.
Or it's not that. It's the single biggest piece of information you can get is find ways to connect, and that's fine. Video.
Connect.
And people are like, well, what if I don't like video? Well, do a damn podcast. Do something.
Massage therapists. They want to connect. This is this on steroids.
Oh yeah.
We're talking Care Bear stare. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and the thing is, not everybody's good on video. That's fine. You can write. You can do blog posts. You can do audio. You know, you could do just an audio version of your podcast. Like, there's a lot of different. There's a lot of different avenues, but they intensify. They increase. They're growing exponentially, and I felt like I was able to have a say in where the marketplace was going. I was able to put out information. So like kind of hamburger joints is a common one because people are familiar with branding when it comes to hamburgers. Years ago, there was only McDonald's, and then there was Burger King. And then in California now and other states, there's In-N-Out, which Texans hate In-N-Out, by the way, because they love Whataburger. And then after Whataburger, there's Freddy's Frozen Custard. And like, there's all these burger places that are carving out niches with different kinds of burgers. A different hamburger, fry, and a drink experience. And I really think that's where our industry is going, is Massage Envy is the McDonald's. They've introduced the hamburger, fry, and the drink as a standard package. Now, there's all the room for all the little niche services that you and I can create and go out and, skewer part of the marketplace for.
Yep. 100%. And it's, and it doesn't matter what you want to do or what you want to charge. I'll tell people, like, because before we moved out here, I would go and talk at some schools, and they'd be like, because I did relatively well with my business. I only spent about 6 months at Elements, and I loved it. I loved Elements. I thought they treated people pretty well. But I watched everything that they did and pulled from their systems where I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. Nah, that doesn't work so good. But once you got out there and like started doing it, it didn't matter what you charged. The only thing I'll say is that if you want to charge $500, it better be a great experience. Like, it better be mind-blowing, and it's going to go a little slow. If you want to charge $29, you can probably be a little, you're marketing to your price says that you don't care about necessarily, you don't have to be that great. You can start there and you're going to grow really fast, but it's going to be hard to pull it from there. So you want to, when you're pricing something, there's always that, and I didn't mean to go here. It was mostly, I just saw one of these conversations of, well, what do I price my session at? And it's a lot like the, how do I start a business? Well, you're going to get 100 answers. You're going to get somewhere between $29 and $500. That is the answer. You have to figure out what you need to make and build from there. And know a little bit about pricing psychology, that sometimes people just want to pay more for a session. It doesn't mean it has to be any better. Some people just like to spend $200. And so many people will look at that. That's one of those self-imposed ideas, is that if you price something really high, it's going to be slower. It's going to take work and word of mouth, doing videos. Why is this person worth $200? You have to show why you're worth that. But it's going to turn into something where you don't have to raise your prices all the time because you started high. If you start at $60, I started at $60. When I got out, I was like, $60 seems like a pretty good. And it was at first. And then I was like, what do I need to make? And that was what changed everything for me.
How is the massage scene in Minnesota? Does Minnesota still not have state licensure?
No state licensure. That caught me completely off guard.
Yeah.
So they do city by city.
Yeah.
So, or I forget what it is. It's city by city. So you go locally and find out whether or not you have, and you don't have to have. There's no minimum education here. There's none of that stuff. If you get closer to a big city, like if you want to work in a spa, they require education. You have to be licensed someplace, have had a certain amount of hours, so they want the education. But Minnesota as a whole does not require that.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so that's been an interesting thing to suddenly be thrown into a place where it's like, I'm not even competing against trained therapists. Part of me was a little nervous about that, and I'm realizing that I should not have been nervous about that. It's going to be just fine.
Yeah, people are consistently confused. Like as an educator, I'm nationally certified as a provider of CE education. And people are always confused about like state rules and regs. And I'm like, oh, you're confused too? Like I only got 50 sets of arbitrary rules from state to state. And it's like, they always contact me from...
It seems every time they have a meeting.
It's like, I'm from Rhode Island. Can I use your CEs? And I'm like, does your state take national certification credits? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, I have no idea either. I had to go look. So it's been interesting to teach online and see people go, well, you know, but I can't use the CEs. I'm like, do you want to learn or don't you? Like, is this just I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll provide CEs. I understand you want CEs, but like, what about education?
Yeah. It's not always about the CEs. You know, I don't sit down with, I don't sit down with the latest pain management book or anatomy book because I'm going to get a little piece of paper at the end or some some CEs out of it. I sit down because I enjoy the process of learning and I want to be better for my clients. I think that's basically the answer there.
Yeah.
Because all learning makes you better, and the people who aren't learning, if you're not doing that, then there's another good way to cut yourself off at the knees.
Yeah.
So on the topic of because you're not really. I might be misspeaking here. You don't really care about the licensure and the. I guess that would you want a certification like a true like I have an issue with the state stuff where it's like one state's this, one state's that, this one's 700 hours, that one's 400 hours. How would you feel about a truly like national certification where it was like everybody's under this one standard, one fee?
So it gets interesting. So there's like a multitude of layers here and directions I could go. And I'm trying to figure out where do I want to go with this? How do I want to address it?
No, that's all right.
I am over time. Honestly. What I'm doing is here's the state's level. I am trying to in the future. I'm going to file a trademark for my brand, rebrand what I'm doing, and go above the state's requirements and have meticulous standards. Nice. For the students who are certified in what I'm teaching and doing. Because in some ways, I think the state standards are too low, but at the same time, the only way I can deal with quality control is to deal with me. Like I can't, like the state and like, in other words, like I'm in Texas, but we're next to Louisiana. Louisiana has different laws, rules, regulations, whatever. It's like, me having a brand like Whataburger and saying, no, this is what our logo looks like. This is how you present it. This is what goes in the burger. Like I'm trying to form a better brand. And that is, that is vilified in our industry. I don't know if you know that. That is.
I was unaware of that.
Oh, brand.
So, you don't want a brand.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's very... So here's what I'm told. You're trying to create a modality empire. And I say, what is a modality? And then all hell breaks loose because they're arguing with me about, and I'm like, no. Whataburger is not the same.
I will only say that about people who want to lock people into some kind of bullshit. Where it's like, this is the only way to do it. And my way is the best way, and I charge $800.
Well, and the thing is that I think that's what people are accusing me of. And the thing is, it's like, no, I'm trying to take the therapist who want to differentiate themselves from McDonald's and go, listen, let's Whataburger the day away. Let's Whataburger, Whataburger, Whataburger. Burnt orange and white. Brand. Brand in our industry is very mucked up. It's completely misunderstood. They think, for instance, like let's say you decide to study with me and you decide to get certified. I don't expect your session to be the same as mine. I expect 70 to 80%. One, I'm going to dictate in the paperwork, if you're going to sell what I do, the session is a minimum 2 hours and it's mat based. You're not selling my service on a table. Wrong.
Yep.
Not even going to happen. Now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to form a brand like Nike. I'm trying to make it solid enough so that consumers recognize, no, I don't want a massage. I want this service.
Right? You want a yo massage.
Yeah. Like and they've been fairly successful at building a little bit. Like they're in a different niche, but it's similar to me in some ways.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's been an interesting thing to watch. I stumbled across them when they followed me on Instagram. That's what it was.
Yeah.
When they were first building, they followed me on Instagram, and I think I got an after that of hey, would you like, and it wasn't something that it didn't really mesh with me at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, no fault to anybody who does it. It's just it's an interesting blend of things, taking two things that it hasn't really been put together before. I'm like, well, that's off.
And branding, but they understood that. And I took their class, this has been years ago, here in Austin. I even helped them rewrite some of their NCB, TMB paperwork to get it passed through the national board because they were having problems getting one of their classes filled or getting it filed and approved. Yeah. So I've had some connection with them because the reason I paid attention to it is like anything that combines elements of yoga with massage is like, because that's kind of what I've been doing and that's where some of the confusion is about what I teach. But from a brand perspective, and this is a long-term thing, this is not a short-term, building the Nike of massage. I mean, the brand that's so solid, it's like CrossFit. Gotcha. Like, do you work out? Do you work out? No, I do CrossFit. And everybody wants you to know they do CrossFit and they want to show off their CrossFit and talk about CrossFit. It's a brand.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what's your brand going to be? You got Nike. You bound to brainstorm some stuff.
Well, we had filed, this is years ago. So we had filed a trademark under the name Reboot. After 3 years waiting, it was declined.
Ah, shit.
And it's like, it's just business. And everybody was like, oh no, like it's so horrible. And I'm like, we change names and we rebrand. So I just had to like regroup because you have to go through that process. But I think for the ongoing business, I think it's important. And it's like, I think you saw you commented on the meme I put out about like science education. In our industry, and it was like, man, people got so angry about chakras and energy and felt I was being dismissive. And it's like, guys, listen, I have seen Alex Gray's paintings in person. I am very aware of chakras and energy flow through the human body, and I've worked at it for over 20 years in my own body, including working with clients. I'm not just dismissing it, but I'm not going up to my local hospital and talking about chakras.
There you go.
It's like,
absolutely,
for people to get frustrated by a meme is something that I can't quite. I'm trying to think. I'm going through my mental Rolodex trying to figure out when was the last meme I saw I got offended by.
Oh God, no! It's like I don't even have one. Like I'm just like it just rolls off of me, and I think anybody who gets offended by those things, it's like you should be asking yourself more why you were offended by it. Than the meme itself.
So it's like, I mean, from a brand perspective, this has been a huge issue. People, I still call what I do on occasion Thai massage, and almost from the beginning, once that first workbook came out, and we continued to build. People were like, "This is not Thai. This is not Thai. This is not Thai." And I went, "Listen, I'm a white guy from South Louisiana who's of Scot-Irish ancestry. If I make you Thai food, is it Thai? Is it authentic? It's like
There you go.
those are the conversations we're having, and it's like essentially the traditional Thai massage community built my brand because I went, nope, you guys are going in a direction I have no interest in whatsoever. I have no interest in promoting Thai culture globally. That's not what I'm here for. I'm trying to help people in pain. My work includes mobility and compression, but mobility and compression is something that's related to anatomy and physiology, which is all people on earth. Like, I thank the Thai people for what they passed along to me, but what happens when you as a Westerner start tweaking things, changing things, adapting it to a Western marketplace, packaging it in a way that they're not familiar with, using social media? They was like, this isn't Thai. And I'm like, fine, it's not Thai. And here's what's going to happen. If we successfully rebrand, people are going to get angry and say, you stole Thai massage. And I'm like, nope, you convinced me it wasn't Thai.
Well, and that is a very good point, because I think so much, and this speaks to the issue that I have with like energy and Reiki and all of those things, is that believe whatever you want. Take your story, because I understand, and stories are amazing. I love the culture of where things come from. I think it's phenomenal, but I don't necessarily need the story to make the technique work for the people that I want to reach. So I don't need all of the other stuff that comes along with it.
Yeah.
I can acknowledge it, and I may even share it along the way, but it's not mutually exclusive. People want to run around like they have a lockdown on everything that's ever been done to a human being just because somebody somewhere did it first.
Yeah.
And I always think of physical therapists when they rebranded. I even hate to use that term, but they did dry needling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because when people ask me about this, I'm like, well, it's acupuncture done more strategically and deeper, and at the end, they're both bullshit. So for me, if you want to believe in those things, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But for me, neither one of them do what physiologically anything.
Yeah.
Beyond comforting touch and letting me relax.
Well,
neither one of those things are,
if you look at,
it's not doing that.
Yeah, if you look at my original workbook, the free one that's on my website, I talk about send lines. And I was very cognizant when I started teaching and writing that workbook. I'm like, okay, how do I introduce this and like bring Westerners along? Because here's what happened. I had a session with my teachers, one of her assistants was totally blown away, said, I'll take everything she teaches. So blown away by it. The first day we get into the class, my teacher starts talking about send lines. And I'm like, what is this crap? I ain't got no time for no send energy. Like, I need body work. And somebody came and there's a line on the inside of the leg between the, like in the adductors essentially, and like along the calf, along the tibia. And man, all they did was like real gentle, just thumb press up along that line. And I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And I went, okay, hold on. She said it was an energy line, but like, let's marinate on it a bit.
Right.
And what it is I tried to explain to students, and I failed at this apparently, because that the argument about the energy stuff just blew my mind, because I'm like, you guys don't understand anything about what I've been teaching. The Sibsen is a simple map that a teacher gave to a student and said, go do 10,000 sessions.
You're going to learn a lot in 10,000 sessions about how to touch someone.
And I guarantee you, and the thing, I still use those lines, but they're a physical manifestation of what people feel. They're not charting magic energy through people's bodies. I never thought that, don't feel like I was taught that, and I help people in chronic pain constantly in ways they can't even explain. But it's like, that was the thing. Thai massage as a brand, I hate to say this, Thai massage as a brand has certain disadvantages. And here's what happened. Once I chose the name Reboot, that trademark was declined. I haven't even changed it on my website completely. I need to do that. It was amazing to me when I started explaining Reboot, and it was like, the students went, what's that? And I was like, oh my God, beginner's mind. They don't have any preconceived notions Because when I say Thai massage, they expect a little Asian lady to walk in.
Yeah, well, and honestly, I'll be upfront. It's one of the things that prevented me from actually going, like taking the next step to like
Yep.
even your YouTube channel, because
Yep.
I was just like, oh, that's not going to be anything that I'm going to do or be. And then as I saw it or you shared it someplace more openly, I was like, oh, well, that is kind of something. I better go check that out.
Yeah.
The community, that is totally what people expect.
Yeah, the community that likes, and this is what I find interesting, the community that likes James Wisloski, they like Till Lukow, they like Eric Dalton. My work in many ways is comparable to what they're teaching and doing.
Yeah.
The packaging is different. The branding is different. The body work, even though I'm mat-based, using my legs and feet, the work is not that different. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the big things now that we have like going on like the medical side, because that's how I generally approach things. But I sometimes feel like the pendulum, it swings too far one way or the other. And like for me right now is I'll talk to somebody who says they're a medical massage therapist and they maybe won't know, okay, we'll say tibialis anterior or whatever, not even a super obscure muscle, and they won't have any idea. And I'm like, okay, well, that's okay because it's weird. Maybe it's just something, because I'll forget anatomy on the fly. I'll be like, well, what is that? It's gluteus minimus. Okay, fine. But I'll say, have you learned anything about, the nerve pathways, nerve system? Have you seen, anything that isn't just deeper and deeper pressure? And it'll be like, no. Well, have you ever questioned trigger points or anything like that? No, I love trigger points. I still love trigger points. I still see something in someone and I'm like, with all the knowledge and all the people like dermoneuromodulation and all that stuff, I don't have an explanation for what I just saw. And so I feel like I can't let it slide all the way one way, where it's like, again, I feel like I'm boxed in. And like I have to leave some room for things that I don't fully understand. And
yeah. So this is where
the medical side is really has a hard time with that.
This is where the meme I put out and people felt like I was criticizing energy, which wasn't my intent. It's why doesn't the mystery and the looking into the mystery via science to get even more questions, why is that not revered in the culture? Like, I'm a big fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I see it in Neil. I see it in like a video clip, and it's like, and I say old, I don't mean Neil is old, but like Neil, he becomes like a child, and he has this 2-year-old's like inquisitiveness about the universe, even though he's an astrophysicist. Yeah. It's like, that's the thing that we need in the bodywork community. The dermoneuromodulating community does some, like, like for me, I'm like, I'm going to become the Bill Nye the Science Guy of the massage community. I want to become like the Alton Brown of the massage community, teach people food chemistry. Like, but teach it in a way that's fun, that like puts the information out in a way that people can understand. The science doesn't dampen the mystery. No. The science makes the mystery blossom because we refine, like, how does this work? The real mystery of like, it's like, students, I'm a teacher, like they want a protocol, and I'm like, there is no protocol to teach you human connection.
No.
And if you want to do good work,
for damn sure.
Connect with the client, communicate with them, find out. Like Maud is 70 years old. They do this all the time. The students, they're like, what if you get somebody who can't get on the mat? I'm like, I find a table and I go, Maud, come lay down on the table. And I work with Maud, and Maud is like, oh, you're just like my grandson. Thank you so much. I feel so nice. And I'm doing lighter compressions and some mobilization and like working with her on her body. And it's like the thing that David Lauderstein pointed out. I remember him bringing this up at one point. He's a great local school owner and educator. David Lauderstein, according to research studies, the number one factor that determined whether or not a client improved was how they felt about the therapist.
Yep. That's one of those things that I will get burned for saying so many times,
Yeah.
is that people want to believe that it's technique and it's some kind of magic stuff, medical or not, that's coming out of their hands. And it's like, it's just not. Most of your session, 80%, maybe more, is just how you are with that person, being able to listen and being real with them.
Yeah.
Like having a true, like, I hate the term therapeutic connection because it just sounds so sterile to me, is just being a real goddamn human with another human being. People seem to have forgotten how to do that. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
that
I think,
alone will make people feel better.
Our industry is overly sexualized, and you, just from our conversation, so like the connection, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's very hard to explain to other men in our culture, very touch averse. How could you work
Yeah.
on Josh? And I'm like, what do you mean? It'd be like you and I did CrossFit, and it's like we're boulder bros. Like I just fist bump you and go, yeah, man, we're gonna work on your gluteals, work on your tib anterior, do an all change. And it's like my boulder bro clients, they'll never go home and tell their wives, Robert helps me with my touch needs.
Right? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well, I think for a lot of people, men in particular, is that it's like a subconscious thing that they're not even fully aware of it.
Yeah.
It's not it's a mystery to even them why they're getting some benefit out of it. But I can guarantee you, like I've seen. So I'm a very big man. I'm 6'4" and
Wow.
over 3 bills.
Yeah.
And when I have someone who is a relatively large man and I'm suddenly got, both of their legs up in the air and I'm rocking them back and forth like a rag doll or taking them and twisting them, there's a thing that they have not had happen in a very long time that wasn't going to be misinterpreted as threat.
Yeah.
And everybody is touch averse.
Yeah.
And it is and no matter how many conversations I have about this, is that some people want to keep injecting the sexual element into it, or keep bringing it into it instead of confronting it head on.
Oh, this has gotten me in trouble because I address it. I'm a male educator. I address it in class, and I've gotten in trouble for it from students who don't like the way I discuss it. And we are, in my world, we're on the front lines of intimacy and sexuality and touch.
Yeah. And it is, and they're always, there's always going to be professional boundaries that you absolutely have to maintain, because you are working and connecting with someone, and you never know when that, for that person, I have clients that are friends, and people will tell me, oh, that's wrong. It's not. I don't see anything wrong with being friends with my client and talking about real stuff and all this stuff. Does it mean that I also say, oh, it's okay to, if you want to fall in love with a client, you feel yourself going that way, break the therapeutic alliance part of it, and pursue that. You may have found your soulmate. I'm not going to tell you not to do that, but I'll see stuff in a forum with like, oh, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
No, they found a real connection.
The thing is, to me, it's kind of like a student asking, like, what do you do if you're attracted to your clients? And I'm like, okay, hold on. And that does happen. But what happens when you're at the supermarket and you're attracted to someone? Like, that's a normal, we're humans. We find people attractive or unattractive. Like, those things happen all the time. You learn how to manage it in a categorizable way. If I like women, I like having relationships with women. If women are approaching me from a massage way, I'm like, whoa, that's getting all confused. What are you doing? Like, my work is just as intimate with Joshua. Like, I touch him. I connect with him.
And that is hard.
Yeah.
That is hard for everybody to understand, both male and female, that males can have that, a male therapist can have that same. And I will relate it to, like, I have kids. I have a connection to them that is the same that I have to some of my clients, where I am in a setting where I value and love them in a completely platonic but caring way. I want them to be better for having seen me. And a lot of times the connection leads you to that. And I'm sure there's people out there right now that are like, ooh, I did a whole video on this. Of like, if a client came in, it was somebody in a forum was like, if somebody came in and just said, I just want to feel loved. And man, the fucking blowback that I saw on people that were like, oh, that's a creeper or whatever. And it's like, this is a person being vulnerable and reaching out. And this completely totally get that. But it's still, at first I had a visceral reaction of like, and I'm like, why do you even have that reaction to this? This is just a human being. We all want to feel loved. Okay. Yeah. We don't, it's vital to our survival. Like it's vital to our well-being as a person.
Yeah.
And just all of that stuff. And to speak more directly to what maybe what women go through is that I do sometimes think that there are certain men that choose not to ever really dive into the bullshit that happens with women too, where they're, this last set of videos I did, man, I had therapists from all over the place reach out saying, thank you for doing this. How can I do this? And it's part of the reason I kept exploring it.
Yeah.
Is that they deal with some of these inappropriate sexual requests or I need a hand job, or do you do this, or do you do whatever? Sometimes on the daily, man, and I'm like, no way is it this bad. I thought this was like maybe a once a month, maybe a few times in your career. And I got responses like that. But I also got ones that were like, I can't even imagine that. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't even imagine.
From my perspective, and just very briefly, I understand that it's challenging for women in our industry. Men have different issues. The work that I teach is primarily clothes on. And it's mat based.
It cuts it all off.
When you rebrand, and I don't use the word massage, do you still get those phone calls? Think about it, women. Think about it. Mat-based, clothes on, you don't call it massage. The traffic slows down for that. And what I'm doing is trying to keep women safe, but they never interpret it that way. They're just like, we don't like him, we don't like what he said. And I'm like, I'm trying to keep women safe. I have a clothes-on form of work that can be performed publicly. It keeps women safe.
Yeah. And my whole thing with this is because I actually asked my wife, I'm like, I ran the videos her because I'm like, I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to mansplain something to them, because I'm not. I'm genuinely, because I have a wife and a daughter, and my daughter wants to be a massage therapist right now. She's only 6. And I want her to have the tools to just, if this is still an issue 10 years from now, maybe this will be that futuristic thing. Maybe we won't have it. But I want her to have the directness to be like, on my website, just say, I don't offer sexual services. Nice big bold print. I thought that was a very cut and dry thing. And man, I had people like, you can't do that because of SEO. I'm like, you do not know how SEO works. You're not going to outrank Pornhub on this topic because you put, I do not offer sexual services at the top of your website. If it was that easy to rank for something, man, I'd have destroyed everyone by now. This is to do SEO. So,
yeah.
But yeah, this is that directness, and find a modality where it's not. Find a brand. I'm going to start calling it that now. Find a technique or a teacher that helps you learn a way not to have to deal with it ever again.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do that, then you have to get comfortable with being like, dude, up front, I don't do penis work.
So yeah, it's a little bit.
Don't ask me.
It's a little bit like, because you want to keep women safe, but the problem is you're dealing with the overall culture. So if we went back in time to Martin Luther King Jr. when he was alive, and I had a conversation with Martin, and it's like, Martin, we understand that justice is a long arc, brother. Like, how do we help black people today, not 20 years from now? And he's like, well, I think peaceful, nonviolent resistance is the easiest way to speed up the trajectory of that arc of justice. The problem is when we're looking at our industry, I can't desexualize people's weird preconceived notions about touch in America. I can work with
Yep.
individual women to change their practice to create something that it's like massage is what's sexualized. PT don't deal with that. Chiropractors don't deal with
Yep.
that. Stretch Lab doesn't deal with that.
Nope.
But if you change the name, you see, if I build a consistent enough brand, it goes towards pushing women forward into a service that I think is more safe just because it's avoiding public connotations around what people consider massage. Is craniosacral therapy sexualized in people's minds?
Yeah.
No.
And that's one of those, not yes as
Yeah.
an agreement, but
Yeah.
you're not going to get, there are certainly ways to select a service that's going to cut that out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'd have to double check my notes because I started writing stuff down. I think I actually had a craniosacral therapist say that she had someone ask them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, but they're and I mean, it's disappointing to me. And at the same time, I feel like that it is a matter of, even if you want to stay in massage, it's just a matter of taking responsibility for re-educating the people who still think that it has sexual overtones or should, or that it ends this way. I literally know, I have male friends that no matter how many times I tell them or how stale that joke is, they'll be like, "Hey man, you giving happy endings yet?" And I'm like,
dude,
no.
So yeah, we're not going to put that story on the podcast, but I make very straight men exceedingly uncomfortable. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's funny because I have no qualms about I'm like, if I was, if the Rock was suddenly, the Rock is a very, very attractive man. If I was a woman, I'm like, I might find myself aroused. If it was Jason Momoa, or if I'm not probably mispronouncing his name.
Yeah.
Or my local firefighter that I have a crush on. I think that there is, and I feel like men do it more often, but there is room for. I've seen plenty of women that were, that have been attracted to their massage therapist or see them.
Well,
and it might be,
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, the thing is,
it's a broad topic, but it is one of those things. I think just across the board.
When I address attraction or sexuality in my classes, it's because I think because we're inside the industry, we get this myopic, viewpoint. We're used to interacting with people physically. I don't even have to know your name, and I can work on you. I can work on you for 50 minutes. Forget what your name was, and then go, "Hey, what's your name again?" Yeah. Because I've just learned to work on people, and it's like you've developed certain boundaries psychologically, emotionally, personally, professionally, in touch, where I'm able to be nurturing to people all across the spectrum. And I find it confusing that other people can't, but I have to kind of check in because we just have, I'm not an Amazon delivery driver. Like my job is way more intimate with the people that I'm working with. Like I connect with people for a living. That's what we do.
Yeah. No, and it is. I mean, all of your money, and I would translate that to every avenue of massage. Just like education, whether you're doing it as an educator or one-on-one as a therapist or doing group classes, your job is to connect and pass along your message back to that thing that we were talking about up top. Is how can I do this? So it is it is a very curious thing that happens because I think there's all kinds of and I try to see most things from both sides because sometimes I'm like I'll see things spoken from a viewpoint where I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's 100% true either. Or like when a spouse is jealous. People ask me all the time if my wife Jen, they're like, well, does she get jealous when you have an attractive client? No, mostly because she knows I view everybody as a sack of meat with feelings.
Yeah.
It's not, there's never been a question of that. But I know a therapist who closed up her practice because her boyfriend at the time was like, nope.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what you do there. I wish I had a better answer, but.
Yeah, and that's that thing about Martin. Like, I can't change the overall culture, but I can work with individuals and we can have a cumulative impact. And that's what I've been fighting for. But because I address it head on, yeah, I can be a little verbally abrasive sometimes. I'm going to say things you didn't hear in school. And like I have an exceptionally a strong affinity for the camaraderie I have with men in regards to touch. So I run an event in Austin. We haven't run since COVID, of course, but the Time Massage Jam. And the Time Massage Jam was this community bodywork event. Anybody showed up, I just teach them, work with them, share. And it was amazing to me to see people come in from off the street. They're in the yoga community, the acro yoga community, or however they found us. They got some shoulder pain. And it was like, I would kind of work with people and kind of introduce them to the community. And then people start, it's like a dance. If you don't know salsa dance, the people who know a little more teach you. So it was like I was teaching the public, and then the public was teaching more people from the public as they came in, and people were like, "But I don't," and I'm like, "It's a community bodywork event." What people were really dealing with wasn't just massage; they were dealing with intimacy and connection in a way that was led by a professional educator who was creating a space where we could have that dialogue about what was happening in our culture.
Yep.
Yeah, creating safe space.
Absolutely. And I think one of my favorite things that I ever did, I was still confined to a table. So I literally took my table down to a park in the, I think it was fall. It might have been spring. Doesn't matter. It was comfortable outside. And I threw up a little sign I had made at Costco, and I worked on people at the park. I stood there for probably a solid hour, and then I got one adventurous person. And the entire rest of that afternoon, I had a line at that table. So it was like, it takes one person to break the barrier that's sort of sitting there. And then from that point, everybody else is like, yeah, this is going to be great. Want another business tip for when you're starting a business? If you have an empty table, you need to hire somebody or have one of your friends come in and get on that thing before you set up all the way to where you're working when the busiest time happens, because it will break the barrier. You don't have to stand there for an hour. It took me months to figure that out.
So what do I can't speak. What are your closing thoughts before we finish up here?
Oh man, we talked about a lot. Just get comfortable with disapproval. Do some videos. Do a blog post, do a podcast. Hell, I don't care if you do the blog post and then you literally just sit there on the screen and just read it to me. I don't care. Put it on your website. But start somewhere and challenge expand your mind. Have fun doing it.
Yeah.
That's probably my overarching of everything. It's just have some fun.
Formula for success is like, one, what's most fun?
Yeah.
And then what makes money? And I'm like, when those 2 points go, right there, you got it. Like that, let's disrupt things.
Yes, and you'll never get tired of it. You might get bored, but it just means you move around a little bit. It's my favorite thing about all of this is that I'm never bored.
Cool.
There's always something new to do.
So just above you is your YouTube channel. It's the Pain Punisher.
That is.
And then Side Body Therapy is your website.
Yep.
And what was the Facebook group? I didn't put that on the screen.
Oh, so it's got a long stupid name. It's the what is it? I don't even remember. The Pain Punisher Massage Corps.
Okay. How many people are in that group? I don't think I'm part of that one yet.
Probably not very many. 30, 35.
Oh, okay. It's pretty small. All right. So cool.
It's small.
Yeah, go ahead and look up Josh online. Subscribe to his YouTube channel so you can see his ongoing video content. That's probably going to increase over time if I had to guess. And then thank you so much for being on the podcast. Josh, if you'll hang out for a second right after I close this out, we'll chat just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And if any of you want to follow me or whatever, I got some of my social media down below. I'm real active across social media. You can join our subscription service. It's completely free for your first month. We have a private Facebook group that goes along with that. You can find that in the links down below the YouTube video. You guys have a good day, and I really want to thank you for coming on, hanging out with us, and participating.
Absolutely. Thank you.